to WTHRUW. What the heck are you watching? I am Elizabeth Smith, and today is Tuesday, October 16th, 1860. Yesterday was the presidential debate between the Little Giant, Illinois Senator Stephen Douglas, and his old rival, the lawyer, also from Illinois, Mr. Abraham Lincoln. Today we have the privilege to have both candidates with us to discuss the topics of the debate and go over highlights with them.
Abolitionism proposes to destroy the right and extinguish the principle of self-government for which our forefathers waged a 7 years war, and upon which our whole system of free government is founded.
America will never be destroyed from the outside. If we falter and lose our freedom, it will be because we destroyed ourselves.
Now, I would like to welcome the Illinois Senator, Stephen Douglas.
Hello, and thank you, Elizabeth, for having me here today.
Last night you had your final presidential debate with your competitor, Mr. Abraham Lincoln. Now, my first question to you is, what are your thoughts on the debate? How do you feel it went?
I believe it went well. I got my points across accurately, and I personally feel like I won that debate. I stress the fact that popular sovereignty is the only way for this country to come back together and unite as one again. People should have the right.
I'm glad you brought that up. We can transition into my next question. In the past decade, slavery has become an issue in today's world. Like you talked about last night, you have been involved in many of the solutions, especially the compromises that have come out of the conflict. Now, you stated this last night, but what really is your plan for the future? Emphasizing on pro-slavery and anti-slavery?
Yes, it is my belief that the only way for the nation to unite as one again is through choice, something that our founding fathers truly believed in. In the past, I have been in support of several acts of popular sovereignty, the most popular being the Kansas-Nebraska Act. We gave the people the right to vote, and they did. This was so both the Southerners and the Northerners could have their way without conflict.
Again, this topic was brought up in the debate, but we want to resurface it again for the clarity of the viewer's understanding of this controversy. With the Dred Scott case of 1857 in March, do you agree with the decisions of no slave, free or not, could ever become citizens?
As I said last night, I am against the ruling. If a slave is free, they should become a citizen and have rights. They are entitled to their own personal liberty laws. In the future, I believe that with popular sovereignty, cases like the Dred Scott case will become non-existent because people are able to choose.
My last question for the day is, what makes you better than your opponent?
First of all, Mr. Lincoln is a radical abolitionist. Our country is not yet ready to make this drastic economic change. Plus, it will divide our country even more than it already is. With my plan, we are able to compromise and everyone is happy. In the future, I do believe that slavery will be voted out of the states. But that is the people's decisions, not mine or Lincoln's.
And with that, we will end this part of the interview with Senator Douglas. Once again, I want to thank him for coming in, and good luck to you.
Thank you, Elizabeth, for having me here today. I look forward to seeing you in the future!
So there you have it, folks, the Democratic candidate, Illinois Senator Stephen Douglas. Next we have here today the Republican candidate, an old-time rival of Senator Douglas's, the lawyer, Mr. Abraham Lincoln. Hello, Mr. Lincoln. Welcome to WTHRUW. We are honored to have you here.
Thank you, Elizabeth. I'm very excited to be here and talk more about the debate last night and the issues our country faces.
Thank you. Well, we are going to start you off with the same question as Senator Douglas had. What are your thoughts on last night's debate, and did you feel like it went well for you?
I would first and foremost like to say great job to Senator Douglas. Even though I did very well, he did a great job. Though I do feel like I was able to get more of the middle voters on my side with my policies. A nation divided cannot work together as one. Even when we compromise, that seems to fall apart one way or another.
I am sure we all want to discuss more about your plans for the nation. So what would you do when you're in office? Will there be an emphasis on emphasis on pro-slavery or anti-slavery?
I believe that slavery is immoral. Though I did not speak much about it last night, I do believe that we need to amend the Constitution in order to abolish slavery. We can no longer sit around and try to compromise. We have tried to do that in the past with the Compromise of Missouri, which was thrown out when California became a state. Then, the Kansas-Nebraska Act, which led to violence, and the sack of Lawrence and Bleeding Kansas, which, in turn, led to more violence in the Senate. Someone was beaten with a cane. Compromise is no longer working for our country and needs to change.
Now, again, we are going back to 1857 in March and the Dred Scott decision. Do you think that the decision was correct or not?
I do believe that the decision was wrong! Now, that does not mean that the blacks are equal to the whites, but they are people and should not be subjected to slavery based on the color of their skin. Our country should no longer have to deal with these outlier cases. We need change, and now. We have to come together, or be divided.
I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Senator Douglas before we ended. What makes you better than your opponent?
Senator Stephen Douglas is of worldwide renown. All the anxious politicians of his party, or who have been of his party for the past years, have been looking upon him as certainly at no distant day to be the President of the United States. They have seen in his round jolly, fruitful-faced post offices, land offices, marshalships, and foreign missions, bursting and sprouting out in wonderful exuberance, ready to be laid hold of by their greedy hands. I, however, believe that a house divided against itself cannot stand. We need to come together and get rid of the problem before this country falls apart.
There you have it. Mr. Lincoln, thank you again for coming on the show, and good luck to you as well.
No, thank you, and thank you for having me.
With that, we will conclude our interviews. We had Senator Douglas, a Democrat that believes in compromise, and Mr. Lincoln, who believes in abolishing slavery. We will track the election more throughout the next few weeks, so be sure to tune in every day to hear the latest from the election. This is Elizabeth Smith signing off of WTHRUW News. And with that,
Wrong!
today we have the privilege to have both Canadas with us.
Canada.